Now, after having just completed Dark Souls and plunking more than 50 hours into this game, I thought it would be a great idea to do a video outlining my various thoughts and opinions of the game. Now, if you've already seen my video, Demon Souls vs. Dark Souls, a primer, then this video is going to feel very similar by comparison. Not only is this one of the best games that I've ever played, but it easily takes Demon Souls' spot on my top 10 video games that I consider to be masterpieces. But when you get right down to the nitty-gritty of a game, you have to ask yourself, what makes this particular one so good? Well, there are a few things right off the bat. You know, a lot of people say that a video game can't be considered art and also be fun, but I think one of the great things about Dark Souls is that it makes a very resounding case for both. I mean, stylistically and graphically, this is one of the best looking games on the PS3. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, you will encounter some frame rate issues from time to time, but really it's just nitpicking at this point when up against the whole package of the game. You get these sprawling vistas, and really a lot of the time it's just the levels are just so beautiful to look at. And I gotta be honest, before going into this game, I was a little worried because when I heard this game takes place in one persistent world, I just assumed the game was entirely linear, and your objective was to get from point A to point B. One of the great things about Demon Souls is the fact that you can pick and choose which worlds you want to go into. But one of the great things as you progress further and further in this game is you find hidden pathways and hidden shortcuts that make getting across this giant persistent world a lot easier. You know, overall, this is just a much bigger experience. Not only are there a hell of a lot more enemy types within this game, but you also have a heck of a lot more bosses, mini-bosses, armor, and weapons at your disposal. The game itself really is just a marvel, especially when it comes to level design. Now, if you haven't played Demon Souls in the past, then there are a few things in this game that you're going to find pretty tricky. First of all, let's talk about the NPCs. In the first game, a lot of the NPCs took place in the Nexus, and they helped you by allowing you to buy stuff, purchase miracles, purchase spells, and repair and store all your weapons. Now, because its sequel takes place in one persistent world, you better memorize their locations, otherwise you're in for a heap of trouble later on in the game. Now, the magic also works a little differently in this game also. There are miracles and spells to use at your disposal. But to find the right spell or miracle means finding the right NPC to sell it to you, and that isn't always an easy task. A lot of them are hidden throughout the land, but more importantly, they won't give you spells unless you perform certain tasks. So again, it's definitely not as straightforward as Demon Souls. Now, in place of the Nexus are these bonfires that act as checkpoints within the game, and whenever you rest at these bonfires, all the enemies that you previously killed around you spawn back to life. Now, my biggest concern with this going into the game was that you could just kill enemies and bring them back to life, kill them and bring them up back to life, and simply farm souls for a while. But really looking at the game as a whole, this was actually quite the necessity. Because even though you could bring these enemies back to life, Dark Souls is still a very well-balanced game. Which brings me to another great point, is its difficulty. This one is very much a more challenging game than its predecessor. The bosses in Dark Souls are some of the best crafted bosses that I've ever seen. You know, you really feel like you accomplished something after you defeat one of these bosses that you've been struggling again and again to defeat. And now I can honestly say I am one of those people who, yes, has completed Demon Souls, and yes, has completed Dark Souls. Another great thing is that this game really rewards you for exploration. And what I mean by that is if you go out of your way within any given level, the game will more often than not reward you with either a new weapon, some new armor, or some other mysterious item. And one of the great things is you'll want to explore these worlds, you'll want to explore these levels and see what's behind every corner. Now, I will say this, that the user interface of this game takes a little more getting used to than it did in Demon Souls. I actually thought the inventory system and the menu system from the previous game was actually better than the one used in Dark Souls, but really, again, I'm really nitpicking at this point. Now, in many single-player games released today, it's likely you'll get 8, 10, maybe 12 hours out of any given title. Now, like I said before, I easily put in 50 hours of gameplay into this title, and really it is just one of those fantastic hidden gems of a game that you'll want to play over and over again. The developers at From Software add these little touches that really I've never seen in another video game ever before. You can write messages in the ground to either help or warn players about enemies or dangers around you. You can invade other people's worlds online as a dark spirit and attempt to steal their souls. You can write a summoning sign on the ground and help another player cooperatively online who needs help defeating a boss or a certain area. And as always, you could see the ghosts of other players playing online, though I have to say this happened a lot less than in Demon's Souls. Really, I just wanted to make a video outlining my undying praises for this game, and I really hope the people at From Software make a third and conclude the trilogy with another game. And again, if you haven't seen my video, Demon's Souls vs. Dark Souls, a primer, then I suggest you go check it out because it gives a more broader understanding on what makes Demon's Souls and Dark Souls so different from one another. Now I want to hear what you guys have to say. Did you agree with my video? Did you disagree with it? Feel free to post a comment in the comment section below. That being said, I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching. As always, feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe to my channel.